An interesting fact is that the current race to acquiring aging solar systems is a pretty new endeavor for a lot of these private institutional investors. I mean, we're talking less than maybe 24 months, right? And I think the ITC going away was a trigger to say, hey, we need a new avenue to deploy capital, right? And by the way, these are smart investors who have been in part of renewables for over a decade, and so they know what they're doing. Where NuLife brings the most value is that as a boots on the ground for the last, I've been a contractor for 15 years, managing, installing, repairing, now removing commercial solar systems at scale. We know firsthand the risk of doing this kind of work, right? But the real value that our has today is that we're able to look at these systems remotely, whether it's in New Jersey or California, look at them remotely through drawings, through annual performance reports, data monitoring reports, photos. We also have national partners. If we do have to have a site visit, it's not a problem. And so we do what we call these rapid ROM assessments, rapid rough order magnitude assessment, which is a desktop review. And we say, okay, let's look at the data that you have. Now let's provide a first options, right? Like what are realistic options? There are some systems that you just can't repower. You cannot fix, right? Unfortunately, it doesn't pencil out economically. And it doesn't, and it's not safe for the building or the facility that's at. It's not safe for the owner who's going to retain that investment. And it's not safe for the contractor to be held liable for reinstalling something that could really create some major issues, right? And by the way, it happens a lot, unfortunately. I mean, look, it's not rare to see on Channel 2 News, a big box retail store has a big fire and all the fire hydrants are deployed, right? Like it's happens a lot, unfortunately, a lot. I know a lot of my peers don't like to admit that, but I've been on this side of the business, and you can ask any experienced asset manager, O&M company. It's a very common thing. Fires in solar, unfortunately, is not uncommon. And so these rapid ROMs gives the owner a level of understanding of, first of all, what are realistic options, and then what are rough pricing for those options. Those options can be a surgical repair. Hey, not a bad site, well maintained. Let's maybe replace the connectors on the modules. We call them MC4 connectors. Let's maybe replace some of the grounding lugs to make sure that the system it has better continuity, and maybe some lift the wire off the roof and wire management. Everything goes as fine. Best case scenario. Where you start getting a little bit more intricate is hey, it's an old central inverter. These were these big and gargantuous transformer looking things that are going obsolete. They're no more, they're not repairable anymore. And so now that gets a little bit more intrinsic, because now you're having to reverse engineer the system to be able to bring in string inverters, and so the costs start increasing. But the life of the system also should increase with the bigger the upgrade, the bigger the life of the system that you're kicking. So sometimes we can do that. Sometimes it has to come out all together, and it doesn't really make sense to reinstall it if you have a module that is 230 watt with real signs of degradation. The racking is like decomposed or thwarped, and the hardware is all unreplaceable, and there's rust. Like, it doesn't matter if you replace, because we deal with that a lot. We have owners that'll come and say, "Hey, give me a quote to remove and reinstall." Like, first of all, we're not a quoting machine. We're not just going to quote whatever you want us to do, right? Because I can't, in all fairness, quote something that I can't stand behind. What's the point, right? It's dangerous for me. It's a waste of time for me, and it's not smart for you to show that to your stakeholders. And so, what we say, hey, you're going to, in this scenario where the modules are bad, the racking is bad. That's like the majority of a component of a solar system, right? So it doesn't matter. You can replace the wiring, you can replace the inverters, you can replace the AC transformer, all those things. But guess what? Your panels and your rackings, like, they're done, they're gone. So really, there's nothing that you can fix there. You have to scrap the old to make room for the new. And now you're talking about a whole new installation. And look, to be fair, we don't necessarily think a new installation is always best for the owner as well, right? I mean, the ITC is cliffing sometime in 2027 unless administration pushes that out a bit. There's a lot of new regulations that are making it harder to acquire components with FIOC restraints and all that. And a lot of these owners, just don't have the bandwidth or the interest to deploy more solar, right? So anytime we're talking to a client, we make it known right off the top and we say, hey, look, we're not a new solar installation. If it makes sense for you and for this asset and all things considered, yes, we can provide a repower option. And if it doesn't, no harm foul. We're here just to remove the system in a way that's safe and compliant.